Yeah, so I'll start off with the ones that are definitely still good to read, and then we'll get into the ones that are kind of more troublesome. So First and Second Clement and the Shepherd of Hermos are three letters that were very popular within the early church, but because they weren't written early enough, it was decided that they couldn't really be confident that it was really apostolic authority in terms of who had written it. And I think that's a large part of why the documents in the New Testament have their names, is because the early church traced those books and letters back to those specific individuals who held extreme amounts of authority because they walked with Jesus, they saw Jesus, they were taught by Jesus, or they were Jesus's family in the case of Jude. And so as far as, these other books go, they're in a category called Pseudepigrapha. It means false writings. It's a word we get in English from the Greek. And a large part of what they are, as it relates to the Gospel of Thomas and things like that, is they are writings that were written sometimes centuries after the other Gospels. But I want to kind of focus a little bit on the Gospel of Thomas because its discovery played a significant role in our understanding of the New Testament. So the Gospel of Thomas is just a collection of sayings that are attributed to Jesus by somebody 150 or 200 years after the fact. But what's really important is that in a lot of academic work being done by scholars for the past 200-300 years, there was evidence to suggest that Matthew, in its earliest writing, had been just a collection of Jesus's sayings. But nobody was like, well, that couldn't have happened. And so there were a whole bunch of atheists who were like, well, this is what Matthew should have looked like, but yet Matthew isn't just this list of sayings, so how do we know it was actually written by Matthew? Well, when the Gospel of Thomas was discovered, all of a sudden, our Christian professors and historians had something they could point to that was relatively the same age as some of our other manuscripts of the Gospel of Matthew to point to and say, we have evidence that there were writings like this. And so even though the Gospel of Thomas is definitely not good for us in terms of what we believe, it is still very significant to being able to defend the authenticity of the gospel because it's evidence that Matthew in its original composition is authentic. Yeah.
A Gospel of Judas, there's a Gospel of Peter,
there's an infancy Gospel of Thomas, which is a really fun, it's fun to read, just don't take it seriously.
Hear my cry for truth, my cry for truth, my cry for you.